This is the moment a Ukrainian troop carrier fires at a Russian battle tank with everything it's got and lands several blows. The video appears to show one of Kyiv's BTR 4 armored infantry transport tank and fire its 30mm cannon at the invading tank, which is left in flames. Russia's latest military humiliation comes as the Kremlin redeploys forces who failed to take Kyiv eastward. Ukraine is now bracing for an all-out assault in the Donbas region. Russia intends to forge a strategic corridor between Crimea and its own sovereign territory via the Donbas. Roads like this one in Donetsk are therefore set to remain the scenes of intense fighting. Putin's battle tanks are fitted with cannons more than 4 times the size, at 125mm. But they're less mobile and quick to aim than plucky troop carriers like the BTR 4, whose cannons are also rapid fire. Striking footage shows the pair of military vehicles fire at each other on a road out of Donetsk, eastern Ukraine, with the battle tank taking on a volley of cannon fire. The tank's 40mm thick armor plate is then pierced by the audacious carrier crew as it appears to burst into flames. Mariupol is expected to fall within hours following weeks of courageous struggle. The Russian military continues to move helicopters and other equipment together for such an effort, according to a senior U.S. defense official, and it is likely to add more ground combat units soon. But it's unclear precisely when Russia will launch a bigger offensive in the Donbas. Moscow-backed separatists have been battling Ukraine in the country's industrial heartland since 2014, the same year Russia seized Crimea. Russia has recognized the independence of the rebel regions in the Donbas. Yesterday, Putin suffered his most humiliating symbolic defeat of the war so far after the loss of his Black Sea Fleet flagship. It's still not known whether the Moskvas ain't after Ukrainian fire, as Kyiv claims, or an internal accident, as Moscow alleges. The sinking of the Moskva is the biggest loss of a warship in combat since Britain sank the Belgrano during the Falklands War in 1982. The Moskva had the capacity to carry 16 long-range cruise missiles, and its removal reduces Russia's firepower in the Black Sea. It's also a blow to Moscow's prestige in a war already widely seen as a historic blunder. The Moskva was reportedly the ship that called on Ukrainian soldiers stationed on Snake Island in the Black Sea to surrender in a standoff. Maxim Marchenko, governor of the Odessa region, said Ukrainian forces struck the Moskva with 2 Neptune missiles and caused serious damage. Russia's defense ministry said ammunition on board detonated as a result of a fire, without saying what caused the blaze. It said the main missile weapons were not damaged and that the crew, usually numbering about 500, abandoned the vessel. In addition to the cruise missiles, the warship also had air defense missiles and other guns. The Neptune is an anti-ship missile that was recently developed by Ukraine based on an earlier Soviet design. The launchers are mounted on truck station near the coast and, according to the Washington-based Center for Strategic and International Studies, can hit targets up to 280 kilometers, 175 miles away. That would have put the Moskva within range, based on where the ship was when the fire began. While the U.S. was not able to confirm Ukraine's claims of striking the Moskva, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan called it a big blow to Russia. Russian authorities accused Ukraine yesterday of sending 2 low-flying military helicopters some 7 miles across the border and firing on residential buildings in the village of Kromovo in Russia's Bryansk region. The moment a Russian tank appears to blast another Russian armored vehicle from yards away in an apparent friendly fire incident has been caught on video. The video by a Ukrainian drone seems to show Russian troops and armor around the village of Dmitrivka just to the west of Kyiv as they were preparing to pull out from their stalled assault on the Ukrainian capital. The ambush is then sprung as a litany of blasts and explosions strike the bunched up Russian tanks from what are thought to be Ukrainian drones and artillery. Previous versions of the video, which was filmed by a loitering drone on March 31st, had been unclear, but a new, higher quality version makes the Russian tanks clearly identifiable by their distinctive V markings. In the ensuing panic and chaos, a tank with the V markings can be seen in a friendly fire incident blasting its main cannon at another tank with the same markings from nearly point-blank range. It has been speculated that this might have been an intentional act if the tank had been disabled, to render it useless for Ukrainian forces that might capture it. A count of Russian losses suggests the Ukrainian ambush hit 7 BMP-2 and 1 $2 infantry fighting vehicles, plus 6 T-72 main battle tanks, with 8 soldiers killed in action. The Ukrainians struck as Russian forces were beating a retreat from Kyiv and the north of Ukraine, with the Kremlin seeming to acknowledge the failure of their efforts to capture Kyiv and topple the Ukrainian government 5 weeks after the initial invasion. It is now thought that Putin is replenishing and massing his forces in the east of Ukraine in order to be able to score a battlefield win in the Donbas and claim a face-saving triumph in time for Victory Day on May 9th, when Russia celebrates its defeat of Nazi Germany in the Second World War. The Russian repositioning of its forces away from towns and villages around Kyiv to the east of Ukraine has permitted allegations of war crimes committed by Russian troops to come to light. Ukrainian prosecutors are investigating civilian massacres in northwestern suburbs such as Bucha, Makarov, and Bordyanka, but the Prosecutor General's office said Tuesday it was also looking into events in the Brovary district, which lies to the northeast.